Hello everyone, Old Man Cam here back to review another video game that I played in 2019, and today, the game that I would like to cover is My Friend Pedro. My Friend Pedro is an action platformer, and it's made by the company Devolver Digital. Now, if you know anything about Devolver Digital, you know that their games are always either very violent, very strange, or a mix of both. This game is no exception. When this game was available on Game Pass, I jumped at the chance once Kaiser let me know that it was out, because it looked pretty cool. It's kind of physics-based platforming. It's twin dual shooting. You get two guns generally at the beginning of the game, and you can use them to aim at different enemies at the same time. Now, a lot of times I get accused of having a bias towards games that I'm naturally good at. And although I would say that I do have direct biases, and I do have enjoyment generally based off of games that are enjoyable for myself to play, I don't think that's necessarily unfair. This game is an example of a game that I'm terrible at, that I think is a pretty good game. Now, do I think its weird control scheme kind of holds it back? Sometimes. Sometimes being able to do everything at once, because buttons are in such weird places, this game is unlike kind of any platforming action game I've ever played. Yes, it can be a little unwieldy, but nothing in this game felt like something that I could not do with just a little more practice. With that being said, again, I'm not very good at this game. Getting the stylish combos that the game wants me to pull off is not something that I personally could do. But playing through the stages was pretty fun for me. I would like to say that I don't feel like the game feels unfair or like it's telling you to do something that it's nearly impossible to do, but I'm still bad. I'm bad at this game. It's a strange one, just like many Devolver games. You're basically an assassin kind of person, and you're following the direction of this banana that may or may not be real that talks to you. Again, if you've played any Devolver game, or if you know anything about Devolver Digital, starting a few years ago, they started doing Devolver Directs over the E3 weekend, and that has kind of gone on since then. It's all this one long storyline that is just outrageous and kind of makes fun of the E3 kind of press conference format. They make strange games. And so this is right up the alley with other strange kind of Devolver games. If you've ever played a game by Adult Swim, Devolver games feel like Adult Swim games, except with a lot more polish. Whereas Adult Swim games feel like a lot of times they could be made into like mobile versions or phone games. Devolver Digital games feel a lot more fleshed out, even though they look really simplistic. Carrion is a game that just came out that looks very, very interesting. That is made by them, and it's a game that I probably want to get into in the near future, but that's neither here nor there. It's really interesting that it's a single movement or room clearing mechanic, but you can aim at two enemies at the same time. I think that's a pretty novel idea, although I've heard that later in the game you're pretty much relegated to two-handed weapons, which takes away the mechanic in general. I don't know why they would kind of force you into that in the first place. But as far as I've gotten in the game, it's a pretty cool mechanic, even when I look like a moron trying to pull it off. But this game was pretty cool. I'm not gonna go on and on about it. It wasn't one of those games that absolutely blew me away. Again, that points to my bias at being bad at it, but at the same time, I don't think that me being bad at it or me thinking the controls are wonky necessarily makes this a bad game. It does hold it back from being a little more accessible, but again, I've never played really a game like it, so I expect it to have some growing pains as far as the button controls layouts, in my opinion. Overall, I think it's a pretty solid game. If you like tough platformers, if you like weird games, if you like brutal violence, then it's a Devolver Digital game. So that's what you get here. Overall, I would like to give my friend Pedro a C+, and I'll see you tomorrow.